Hello lovely, thank you so much for joining me today. If you haven't met me before, then hello, my name is Laura. Thank you so much for choosing to spend a little bit of time with me today. If you're not new and you're one of my returning viewers, then thank you so much for joining me today. I am a mess, but makeup is my therapy, and it has been a while, so I am desperately in need of a little makeup self-soothing. So if you like makeup, just a mess of a human talking about makeup and themselves and life and the trials and tribulations and all that kind of thing, then please do stick around, subscribe, leave me a like or a comment. I love chatting to anybody in the comment section. And without further ado, let's get on with today's video. Okay, so it's been about 4 months since I've been in front of the camera, and I thought, as sort of like a way to ease myself back in, I would just do my old faithful style of video, which is just a chatty get ready with me. There's quite a few things that I want to talk about today, and the act of putting on makeup really relaxes me, so that's what I'm going to be doing today. I've got my notepad with notes of things that I want to talk about, so that is what I'm going to be doing today. I hope that sounds okay for you. It's very hot in the UK at the moment. Some of this is skincare, some of this is sweat, just natural, the natural glow. I have got my fan on in the background, so I do apologise if you can hear that and it's distracting, but I've had to wait till it's almost 9 o'clock in the evening until it was cool enough in my bedroom to film, as it is. My bedroom is on the back of the house and we get sun on the back of the house all day, so my room is like a furnace. Even like at 9 o'clock at night it's boiling in here, so I hope the fan isn't too much of a annoyance. But yeah, so today I'm going to just be doing a chatty get ready with me, and as I said, I've got some notes on things that I want to chat to you about. So first things first, I probably best give you a bit of a life update. So the last time that I actually filmed for the channel, where I was actually in front of the camera and it wasn't just a shot my stash where you can see my hands, was just before Christmas, like a couple of days, or I think it was Christmas Eve was the last time I actually filmed like this. And at that time I was quite busy and stressed because I started my job in October, and the Christmas period was incredibly busy. So I've had a couple of years where I've not been working at all over Christmas, so working over the Christmas period was quite a shock to the system, and I was very tired and very stressed, and I was having quite a few problems with my health at the time. Unfortunately, this is an update that I really didn't want to make, but unfortunately I had to give up my job, and am now, I've sort of accepted the fact that whilst my health and my circumstances are as they are with my endo, etc., I can't work. I was working from home, but I was working for an energy supplier, servicing prepayment meter customers, so customers who had got like the classic prepayment meters. So it was 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, with a couple of short breaks in the morning and afternoon, and then a half-an-hour break at lunchtime. But what I was finding was sitting in the one position for such an extended period of time was playing havoc on my condition, and I actually, because my treatments had been messed around and everything, my health was the worst that it's been in a couple of years. I haven't had to go to A&E for a couple of years, and I was back in A&E. My mental health was really suffering because I felt like a failure because I couldn't do it properly. I was, you know, I was having to have time off, and even though the company were very understanding and had known about my situation from the beginning, I still had to go down the route of having my probation extended, and occupational health had to get involved, and occupational health basically said that I was unfit for work. So it was that process starting that I've gone through so many times before, where as hard as I worked and as good as I was at my job and as willing as I was to, you know, make time up, etc., they can't sustain it, and I understand that, and I couldn't sustain it. It was having such a huge impact mentally and physically, and my mum and dad basically just said to me, look, why are you doing this to yourself? Why are you putting yourself through this? You don't have to prove anything to anybody. You've given it a go and it's just not worth it. So unfortunately I had to make the very difficult decision towards the end of January, sort of mid to end of January I think it was, that I couldn't carry on. So I spoke to my senior manager and my team leader, and they both agreed that it was the best thing to do. But my senior manager did say that if ever I want to go back, the door is always open, which was really, really nice to know. And it would be nice to go back one day, to be able to go back, because I learned so much, and I was doing well at the job as well. Like my KPIs and everything, I was doing really well and I was enjoying it. I loved being back at work and feeling like I was like contributing like to society a bit more, but yeah, unfortunately it didn't work out, and that's just the way things worked out. I'm obviously not working or doing anything at the moment. I have just sort of accepted that is not something that is an option for me at the moment until my health is in a better place, and it is still pretty bad. I still haven't been able to see my consultant. I had an appointment to see him it's been cancelled and rescheduled so many times, but I finally saw him. Well, I went to the appointment in April, and I had a flare-up in the waiting room. He'd already kept me waiting over an hour, and I had a flare-up, and my mum sort of said to one of the nurses, look, how long is it gonna be? She cannot sit here for much longer. And we were told that there was still 4 people in front of me and if any other emergency appointments came in via A&E, that I would be pushed to the back of the queue. Bearing in mind I should have seen him in October, and the appointment kept getting pushed back by him. So when the nurse went to the doctor to say, you know, she's struggling, he refused to see me and made me go to A&E. So I had to go from one side of the hospital to the other with a letter to A&E to say that I needed analgesia, and to possibly, there was like, I read the letter and it was like query on-call gynae registrar. Bearing in mind he's a gynae consultant that I was waiting to see. So when the receptionist in A&E read this letter, she went absolutely mad and went to see the A&E sister that was on duty, to say, you know, she's been sent all over here, she's in agony, she actually needs to see her consultant. So his boss wrote another letter that I then had to go back to where I'd come from, to the waiting room at the other side of the hospital, and by that time he'd gone home. And I had to see just one of his sort of like understudies who couldn't do anything except for write me a prescription for the treatment that I'm already on, and get me another appointment. So I had to go back on the waiting list for another appointment. So I was there for about 4 hours in total, in absolute agony, and I've now got to wait. Well, I'm seeing him next week. So basically I know that what's going to end up having to happen. I'm going to end up having to have surgery, but they don't want to do that, obviously, and the waiting lists for surgery is just ridiculous at the moment. I think the gynae waiting lists, there was a statistic released the other day that it will take 652 years to clear all the gynae NHS waiting lists if every single patient that's on those waiting lists was to get seen. And that just kind of gives you an indication of what kind of a mess the NHS is in at the moment. I mean, I love our NHS. My mum worked for them for many years, and I know how difficult the situation is at the moment. I know that it's you know, it's nationwide, and that there are people are a lot worse off than I am, and warrant, you know, to be seen before I am. But it's just, while I'm waiting and while all this is going on, my life's just on hold, and it feels very much like I'm stuck in limbo, waiting for somebody just to listen and to do something for me. So that is where I am at the moment, health wise. The job, like I say, was the one to suffer, unfortunately, and it was something that I was really hoping to avoid, but it is what it is. Because of having to give up my job, and with my health the way it has been, my mental health has really been suffering. I've really been struggling in the old brain box. I feel very lonely, very isolated. When I think about the future, I just feel scared rather than, you know, positive and excited about, you know, what life is going to bring. I just feel frightened of that because I don't really have any prospects. And like I say, I'm extremely lonely. I have got absolutely no interest in a romantic relationship in the slightest, like not in the slightest. And I know obviously that would help my situation if I was to meet somebody, but I just, no interest whatsoever. I just don't want to have to, you know, explain my problems to somebody else and like have them treat me like I should be some, you know, grateful for, you know, their attention and that sort of thing. I don't have the patience or the interest at the moment. And you know, I know that my mum would love me to meet somebody, but that's just not on the cards for me at the moment. I've never been happier to be single. I've always been in relationships, and I've always been that person that's like left a relationship and then has ended up in another relationship quite quickly after. I've never, you know, believe it or not, up until a few years ago, I never had any problem finding a partner or a prospective partner. Unfortunately, they were usually the wrong ones, but since I split up with my ex, like during COVID, there's just not really been anybody else. I've been on a couple of dates with one person who turned out to be a complete waste of time, and since then I've just been like, I just can't be bothered. Just, you know, to put it bluntly, I just can't be bothered, and that's okay, you know. But I do wish I had a community of sorts, you know, a community that I could sort of fall back on in, you know, when I'm having my darker days. And don't get me wrong, I'm extremely privileged in that I have amazing parents who are there for me whenever I need them. You know, I live at home, so I am incredibly lucky in that aspect. But there are some things that, you know, you'd rather talk to some, like a friend, than your parents about. So yeah, I've been feeling quite, the loneliness has been quite tough on me lately, but it is what it is. You know, there's not a lot I can do about it. I wish there was like dating apps for platonic relationships with like females and things, but the ones that are sort of linked to the dating apps, like I know you can get like Bumble BFF and stuff like that, they're useless. There's nobody on them, because they're all just geared towards the dating. So yeah, so I'm feeling desperately in need of community at the moment, and that is one of the reasons that I have so desperately wanted to get back on here and get filming again, because my mental health hasn't been the greatest. Unfortunately, when my mental health suffers, I struggle very badly with my confidence and like my self-image and that sort of thing, and it's really taken a battering lately. The worse my health gets, the worse my body image gets. You know, I've gained weight because I'm not really doing anything, you know, any activity or anything. Anytime I try to do any form of exercise or even just get out and about, you know, I don't last long before I'm in pain. You know, my mobility is just not like it used to be, and that has had a huge impact on the way I see myself, and obviously I've gained weight, so that's had a massive knock on as well. And I just don't recognise the person in the mirror anymore. Like, when I get dressed these days, I don't even look in the mirror because I don't want to, because I don't want to see the way that I feel about myself, which at the moment I just feel like a blob, like an unattractive aging blob. And I know that's awful, and there's going to be people out there who will be going, oh, no, you shouldn't feel like that. And yeah, I know that. You know, I've spent a lot of my life being a champion for body positivity and self-love and everything, but when you're not feeling it, you're just not feeling it, and it doesn't matter what anybody says to you. You know, bless my mum, as she tells me I'm beautiful every day, and she's always trying to talk me up and everything, but if you don't feel it, it doesn't matter what anybody says to you. I mean, putting makeup on now, this is only the the third time I've worn makeup in May, and it's almost as if I've forgotten what to do. Like, I've been watching like makeup tutorials on the absolute basics because I feel like every time I do my makeup it looks terrible. I hate my hair at the moment, I hate the way I dress, I hate all my clothes. I'm just going through a not liking myself very much phase, and that has really stopped me coming back on camera, because obviously I'm sitting talking to you, but essentially I'm talking to myself in a camera, and I don't really want to even look at myself at the moment. So it's been a bit of a, I've been putting it off for weeks and weeks and weeks. I've been putting time aside, and then when it's come to it, I've just been like, no, I can't do it. I can't do it. But I really do miss YouTube. I miss filming. As silly as it sounds, sitting here in front of this camera makes me feel a little bit less alone, a little bit less isolated, and that is one of the main reasons why I started doing YouTube, and one of the main reasons why I've sort of given my head a bit of a wobble and sort of got myself to come back on camera. So if you are new to my channel, this probably isn't the best video for you to see, but just to give you sort of an introduction to me, if none of what I've just been talking about makes any sense. I am 39 years old. As I said, I live at home with my parents again. I'm single. My last partner was, we split up at the beginning of 2021. I don't have any children, and I've sort of accepted now that at 39 it's highly unlikely I ever will have children. For a very long time that was something that I couldn't come to terms with, but I kind of have now. It's just, I don't think it was ever in the cards for me. I'm qualified makeup artist, but I have never really done it as a career. I did try to pursue it for a while, but it just didn't work out. What I was doing for most of my career was working in finance. I've done everything from bank teller work to complaints specialist, and then the last role I was doing was as an energy specialist. I absolutely love makeup. It's been my longest lasting obsession, something that I've loved since I can remember. It was something that my mum taught me about and has just stayed with me. I have realised lately that the hobby of makeup has turned into a hobby of buying makeup rather than actually doing makeup, because I don't really go anywhere these days, and some days I don't even have, you know, my pain levels are such that I can't even get out of bed, that sitting and doing a full face of makeup just seems like a marathon that I don't have the energy for. So all I've been doing over the last several years is buying ridiculous amounts of makeup and not actually using it. So my channel has been a lot of hauls, and that's something that I recently made as a decision to change, which I will talk about more in a separate video. But basically I am currently on a no buy and have been for just over a month, and I am trying to move more towards like slower consumerism and like project panning and using up my makeup rather than just constantly adding to it. So like I said, I will do a separate video on both of those things, but just for anybody who is thinking of subscribing to my channel, there won't really be many hauls going forward, and I'll be sharing a lot more around using what we have, conscious consumerism, project panning, that sort of thing. So that is something that I'm feeling very passionate about at the moment, and I'm hoping to build a community from that. There is a huge project panning community out there, and I would love to be able to be part of it. So that is my current focus. I have several videos planned coming up where I want to talk about certain project pans that I'm doing. I've created my own project pan. I want to talk a bit more in detail about my no buy, and things that I've been, like, lessons that I've learned from it so far, and yeah, so a bit more around makeup no buys and project panning. As far as a bit more about me on a personal level, for anybody who is new here or doesn't know me, I have a little dog, a little staffy called Ray. He is my sun and stars. That dog has, well, he saved my life essentially. He is the reason that I get up in the mornings. If it wasn't for him and my parents, I wouldn't be here. I know I wouldn't. And that little dog is just everything to me. So he is a brindle staffy. He's very, very in tune with me. You could somewhat class him as a therapy dog, because he does react to my endometriosis flares. He knows when one is coming and he will alert my mum and dad. And there's other things that he does as well to help soothe me when I'm in a flare and things like that he's never been taught. He just picked up on it himself and started doing it himself. And just, it amazes me every day. He, by the way, I haven't been talking about the makeup, because this was more a chatty video that I wanted to do, rather than this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm using. If I remember, I'll write down everything that I've used in the description box. But I'm going to use a palette that I've not used before. This is the Colourpop Main Squeeze palette. I've had it in my collection for years and I've never used it. And I'm also going to mix with it some of the shades from my current Build Your Own palette. I've been really into lately like unexpected mixtures of colour combinations, so that's what I'm going to do today. But yeah, so my little doggy, and me and my parents have a static caravan in Wales. Wales is my happy place, but another couple of places in the UK that I love and have considered relocating to is North Yorkshire. North Yorkshire is a place that I went to and immediately felt like I'd gone home. And my parents and I have always loved Cornwall as well, but South Wales is where we have the caravan, and it's a second home basically, and is somewhere that I can see us relocating to eventually. If it was just me, I would relocate to North Yorkshire in a heartbeat. I could see me and my little dog in a little cottage or bungalow or something. I'd be the old lady who speaks to nobody and just talks to her dog. That would suit me down to the ground. But yeah, so love South Wales. I was born in a city and grew up in a city, but I am definitely not a city girl. I love the countryside. I don't like big groups of people. They spark my anxiety. I get social anxiety, and anywhere there's a lot of people, I get like claustrophobic and panicky. So cities are not for me. I went to Dublin once when we were in Ireland, and it was the worst experience. The place is absolutely beautiful, but just the volume of people was really overwhelming. So I love the countryside. I like being by the sea, but I prefer like a wood over a beach. But when we're in Wales, the beach is usually where we are. I absolutely love movies. I am a Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit super fan. I absolutely love the Lord of the Rings. It is a movie that I watch. It's one of my comfort movies, and unlike a lot of Lord of the Rings fans, I absolutely love the Hobbit. I don't think you could have picked a better Bilbo Baggins than Martin Freeman. I think he's amazing, and he just nailed that role completely. Not a fan of how much they changed the storylines for the film, but you know, it is what it is. They had to have a love interest and love story in Toriel, and you know, I understand it, but I would have liked them to have kept more to the original. Not a chick flick kind of a girl. I love horror movies and 80s action movies. Yeah, my mum loves like these Hallmark movies and the Christmas movies and stuff, and I would literally rather watch paint dry. I hate stuff like that. My all-time favourite movie is Ghostbusters, the original Ghostbusters. That film means an awful lot to me. And the Conjuring franchise, I absolutely love the Conjuring movies. Also a big fan of the original Exorcist, and The Entity, which is a 70s horror movie. The original Conjuring and the second Conjuring are my favourite in the franchise, but I do like all of them. Music, I am a big Beatles fan. I have 2 tattoos that are dedicated to the Beatles. I have 5 tattoos in total and have some others planned. I want to get a Lord of the Rings tattoo, and I also want to get a tattoo of I live not far from a main road, and we're having a lot of problems lately with boy racers, like car cruising and racing, because it's just a long stretch. Drives you absolutely potty at like 2 o'clock in the morning when all you can hear is zooming cars. Yeah, so I've lost my train of thought. Yeah, Beatles. So I love the Beatles, but I love a lot of different music. I love Elton John. I like music of the 70s and the 60s. I absolutely love Stevie Nicks. I prefer her on her own than with Fleetwood Mac. But I also was a punk and emo kid, so a lot of my youth was spent in Blast Off at the Civic Hall in Wolverhampton, if anybody knows of that, and pubs where you could wear your Converse and your Converse stuck to the floor. That was my kind of a night out, and probably still would be, although as I've got older over the last couple of years, I never ever thought I would say this, but I actually have really got into country music, contemporary country music. I've always loved Dolly Parton, but I'm really into my contemporary country, so I love Lainey Wilson, Morgan Wade, Luke Combs, obviously. Luke Combs is my ideal man, like physically, looks, he's so beautiful. But yeah, So I always hated country music, but I've really come to appreciate it. I've got like a contemporary country playlist that I just stick on and have a little bop to occasionally, but I don't listen to music as much as I used to. I'm definitely one to stick a movie on rather than put music on. And I also love like paranormal stuff. Like I don't believe in it as much as I used to. Like most haunted and things, I was die hard for them, but I've grown up and realised it was all, you know, rubbish. But I still love it. I still like watching ghost adventures and that sort of thing. I just find it entertaining. And I love Murder, She Wrote. I'm a huge Murder, She Wrote fan. Angela Lansbury is one of my favourite people. She will forever remind me of my nan. And the day that Angela Lansbury passed was like losing my nan all over again. I cried for like 2 days. I also love the Golden Girls. I was a big Betty White fan. And I also, when I was growing up, when kids were watching like Nickelodeon and programs like Fresh Prince and that, I was watching Magnum PI and Murder, She Wrote and the Golden Girls. I've always been a bit of an old lady and I'm okay with that. So yeah, I also love to read. Very into fantasy literature. Lord of the Rings again is another comfort one for me. I listen to ASMR audio readings of the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit every night to go to sleep to. Anything else about me? I do have a fascination for paganism and spirituality, like Wicca and that sort of thing. Always have done ever since I was younger. Read up a lot about it, and I do feel a deep connection to that sort of way of that belief system. I know that's not for everybody, and a lot of people are going to watch this and be like, oh, she's mad, but it's just something I find very, very interesting. One of my favourite places I've ever visited was the Boss Castle in Cornwall and the Witchcraft Museum there. What else? I think I'll pop a bit of this. I'm using like a hollow shade. It's hollow that I've got over my lid, and I'm going to just put a little bit of that on the inner corner. It's probably a bit dark. Yeah, it's a bit dark, but never mind. What else? I love history, especially the Second World War, the Jazz Age, and the Victorian times. Always been a big lover of history. It was almost my favourite subject at school. And yeah, that's and related to that, I love like collecting like vintage knickknacks and things. I mean, I've got you can't really see because of the blurred background, but I have an awful lot of like vintage knickknacks everywhere. Like just in front of me I've got these vintage salt and pepper shakers. I love birds and flowers. I've got birds and flowers literally everywhere, and most of my like vintage knickknacks have got birds or flowers on them somewhere. And most of my tattoos, well, all of my tattoos are birds and flowers as well. Yeah, as far as like makeup and style and stuff like that, I don't really follow trends with makeup. I heard the other day that eyeshadow is out. Apparently it's no longer trendy to wear eyeshadow. Well, I'm sorry, but I'm not giving up my eyeshadow. Eyeshadow is my favourite part of makeup. I mean, how can you say eyeshadow is passé when you've got like sparkly shadows like this to play with? No, could never be me. So yes, I'm just going to pause this because I've been waffling for 45 minutes. I'm just going to go away, put my eyeliner on, curl my lashes, do my mascara, and then I'll be back. Okay, so I've just put some brown eyeliner in my waterline and along my lash line, and I've put some brown mascara on. So all I've got left to do now is blush, highlight and lippies, and then we're done. So I'm aware I have just like rambled at you for like 45 minutes. I'm so sorry. I don't even know if half of it made sense, and I had notes written down of what I wanted to talk about, as I've not been on camera for so long, and I don't even know if I've covered any of it. I've just literally had verbal diarrhea for 45 minutes, but it is what it is. Hopefully this gives you an insight into what this channel is going to be like. Feel free to click off, unsubscribe and never come here again, because I am, as I said in the intro, a total mess. But I'm a real mess. I don't pretend to be anything I'm not. I've got my problems, my insecurities, as has everybody, and I hope that if you do choose to stick around, it's because you've recognised a kindred spirit maybe, or something like that. Yeah, so blushy blush blush blush. I'm going for one that is kind of dark, so I'm not sure how I feel about the red eyeshadow, but I do think it does make my eyes look quite striking. So okay, and for a lip, I'm going to do my lips are super dry at the moment, so let's use something nice and hydrated. This is MAC's Half Red lip liner. An old classic that my mum gave back to me, decluttered back to me. And I'm just going to use Wet n Wild Bellini Overflow. This is one of the Mega Shine ones. I love the formula of these. There we go. And then let me just do one last spray. And I will sort my hair out and I'll be back with you. Okay, and that's me done. We've got some big old 80s hair, and I think my eyes are giving 80s as well. I'm not mad at it. So yeah, this is the finished makeup look. As I say, I will list everything in the description box of what I've used if I remember. I love this pop of purple underneath. So yeah, I haven't gone over my notes, but I think I've talked about pretty much everything that I wanted to talk about. I will be having a video coming up discussing my no-buy and project pans in a lot more detail, but today I just wanted it to be about me getting back to filming. So thank you so much for sticking to the end. I know it's been a long video. That is one thing about me, I do like to chat. Once I get going, I can't be stopped. So thanks so much for watching my video today. I appreciate anybody who likes, comments or subscribes, and yeah, have a fabulous day, evening, morning, whenever you're watching this. I hope you're treating yourself kindly. Some advice that I perhaps need to listen to, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye lovely.